Hey guys, it's Sign here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we are doing another manga review. Today we're going to be looking at Ace's Story, the manga, or One Piece, Ace's Story, the manga. That's the full title of this. And we're going to see volume 1 and 2. This is the whole collection, all of it together with this cool, mixed cover. However, because of the, lack of quality control, these actually don't line up correctly. You have to stagger them a little bit. So, it doesn't ever align properly, but you get the idea. It's pretty cool anyways. This has a billion people working on it, so bear with me. The original story of One Piece is obviously done by Eiichiro Oda. This is based on a light novel that's a spin-off that is written by someone else with the allowance of Oda, right? So Oda gives them some ideas and then they write their own story based on it. And these people are Sho Hinata and Tatsuya Hamasaki. And I think that there's two people because one of them did the first couple chapters and then the other one did the rest of them. And I can't remember if that's true or not. Then this was further adapted because basically the One Piece magazine, which is a kind of like a fan magazine, only allotted 5 chapters worth of time to the story. And so the light novel was a bit longer than that, and so they had to cut down some of the story elements to make it easier to fit here. So they got this guy Ryo Ishiyama to simplify the story, storyboard it, and then finally they got Boichi to do actually the drawing of it, right? So at the end of the day, this is a series or a set of chapters that went through a lot of work to get done, and they ultimately end up being pretty fun and enjoyable in the sense that the artwork is phenomenal. You understand the storytelling elements that are happening here, but there's a certain level of lack of enthusiasm, I guess, that I felt when I finished reading this because of a few factors. First of all, I already knew this story because I read the light novel. Secondly, I didn't actually like the light novel that much. I think that although the elements that were told in the story were interesting, I don't think that the storytelling was dynamic enough to be warranted, right? It didn't feel that cool. Even though that I understood that there was really cool stuff happening, I just didn't find that much excitement in it, right? And so that's storytelling wise, or physical product wise, why I felt that way. In terms of story, why I don't really find myself all that enthused by this is because Ace is not that important of a character. I mean, he's really valuable to us at Marineford, and he's valuable to Luffy's biggest struggle in all of One Piece, but Ace isn't important as a character on his own. He's only important because of the value that Luffy attaches to him, right? And kind of as a message, right? This idea that the sins of the father, kind of affect the son, and they shouldn't, but they do. And this sort of idea that, no one is really meant to be alone. But at this point, this story is more of an echo of the story that Nico Robin had, whereas, I don't know, maybe I'm just a hater. I like Ace. I think he's cool and great, but Ace is only important because Luffy cares about him, right? And so I don't necessarily think that it was necessary to devote this much work to Ace of all characters, right? At the same time, I appreciate the additional world building that's given to us thanks to these chapters and the additional character profiling and character value that's added, right? But I wasn't that enthused because I don't care that much about Ace. So your mileage may vary there. This might be different from person to person, right? The greatest entertainment value I got out of this was Boichi's artwork, and I think that stuff is phenomenal. That's amazing, right? But I was much more excited about Whitebeard or Jinbei, specifically as characters in this, than I was about Ace. So that's kind of my thought process there. And so that's why I give this a 4 out of 5 in terms of a rating, right? The premise of the story is basically we just get to see Ace start his adventure, and then some very small key moments, well, very important, large moments, but small in terms of like the scope of his journey, right? We get to see him through a bunch of different little portions of his life, right before, you know, Marineford. So the premise is simple. The plotline here is also pretty simple. There's a lot of stuff removed. I think the most interesting part is that Ace has like a Marine girlfriend of sorts, and she doesn't really ever become relevant to anything, right? But like in the main story. But I found that to be a bit compelling in the light novel, and it was completely cut from this manga, so that kind of sucks. But we get to see Ace meet Mastus on an island where they're both stranded together. They work together to try to escape. Things happen and their escape strategy gets destroyed. They have a fight. They finally find food, and it turns out to be the Maramara no Mi, the, you know, fire fruit. And they both eat it. However, Ace is the one that basically swallows his bite first, and so he's the one that eats it. He's the one that gets the power. And so now that they have free propulsion through, you know, the fact that Ace can shoot fire, they manage to escape. And so they become friends, they join forces, and Mastus becomes the first mate of the Spade Pirates, right? So that's where the party starts, right? That's where the story kind of goes from there. They gather different crew members and eventually decide that because Ace can't like fight and surpass his own father, he'll fight and surpass the person that is closest to him, which in this case is Whitebeard. Honestly, he could have just been a Marine and fought Garp instead, and maybe that would have been better, but you know, whatever. The point is that he wanted to be a pirate like Luffy, and so he has to go fight Whitebeard, right? And so this is what he and his crew are working towards. We get to see them meet Riley, or Rayleigh, I guess is the right way to say that. However, Rayleigh and Ace don't really have like a connection there, or like there is a certain level of like understanding that they should, but that doesn't happen, and I really think that it's a missed opportunity. I feel like Rayleigh would give a shit about Ace whether or not he has shown to do so before, right? And I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity there, right? But it is what it is. They make it down to Fishman Island. They learn that this is Whitebeard's territory, and then later they end up meeting with Shanks, and this is probably the coolest spread in the whole manga. And initially you think, oh, they're gonna fight, and then Ace is like, no, I'm just here to thank you for taking care of my little brother. They're like, oh shit, you're Luffy's little brother or older brother, and then he's like, yeah, and then Shanks understands that this is actually, you know, his old captain's son, and he wants to say something about it, but Ace is like, no, I don't deal with that stuff, right? And so Shanks is like, okay, cool, man, no worries. Although I don't love that, because this means that Shanks has a younger brother, basically, right? Because Shanks and Buggy were raised by Gold Roger and his pirate crew, right? So I feel like Shanks should care more, should be like, no, man, we got to talk about this, even if you don't like it, because, you know, maybe some problems would be solved. And Ace wouldn't go through what he goes through, right? But, you know, it is what it is. And then we get to see that Ace eventually battles with Jinbei, because Jinbei's like, dude, I heard that you're after Whitebeard. There's no way that I'm going to let you do that. I owe that man my life and my people's life, and so I have to defeat you. And they have this awesome battle for 5 days, and it's so cool. It's really awesome. And eventually, after those 5 days are over, Whitebeard arrives. And, well, the Spade have to run because they can't battle him. Ace stays behind to try to beat Whitebeard and to give his crew time to escape, and he is knocked out. He eventually wakes up on Whitebeard's ship. He's shown that his crew is taken care of and that they are going to be integrated into Whitebeard's ship, but Ace wants to kill Whitebeard anyways, and so they have 100 different battles, and at the end of the 100th battle, Ace finally decides to join Whitebeard, right? And so we kind of get this final cathartic moment where Ace finally has a family. It is accepted by someone, and this is really meaningful and valuable because this is all Ace wanted his whole life. And that's basically it. We get to have this kind of like adoption ceremony to end the story, and that's really cool. I liked it, but like I said, I don't care about Ace that much, so this stuff is not that exciting to me, right? And then we have two different side stories, right? So one of them is Boichi redoing the Ace versus the Zoro versus Mihawk fight, which is cool. I love that. I think it's really fun. It's really nice to see Boichi's art style because he uses like for the Ace manga stuff, he uses his more like a slightly more adult style, right? Something more similar to Sunken Rock. But for Zoro versus Mihawk, he uses his like Dr. Stone art style, and it's really funny. I really like it. I think it's fun. And he also does Nami versus Khalifa, and well, it's as horny as you expect, but it's really good. I really enjoy it. I think it's fun. I know when the scans for this originally came out a long time ago, people were angry as hell, mostly women, right? That you know, why did he draw them like that? But I mean, that's just Boichi's art style. I don't really understand what the complaints are. If you don't like a single chapter of manga, you can just avoid that single chapter of manga, right? Like it's not that serious, and it's also not like that big of a deal. It's not really all that different from what Oda originally did, right? So it is what it is. But those two chapters are probably more exciting to me than all of the Ace manga, right? In terms of characters, we get to meet Masked Deuce. Sorry, his like whole like everything that relates to Masked Deuce is hard to say for me. I don't know why. He's cool. I would like to see him come back in the main manga, but I don't think he will. It'd be nice to see like a newspaper that just has Masked Deuce's signature on it somewhere. That'd be enough for me. We also get to learn more about Ace, and we get to see different characters interacting in ways that it's kind of unexpected, right? It's kind of funny that Shanks basically has more to do in this whole, like chapter of the series, and maybe he does in all of One Piece. So that's kind of interesting, but it is what it is. World building wise, there really is no addition to this at all. Like it doesn't really add any value to anything because all of this is just showing us stuff that we've learned through conversation in the main story. And then in terms of artwork and fan service, I mean, the artwork is awesome. It looks great. And of course, the fan service is amazing because Boichi is a king of this, right? And ratings wise, is a 4 out of 5 in terms of entertainment. Like I said, I mentioned before, I think I did that in a previous attempt at this. So let me just reiterate that. It's a 4 out of 5 in terms of entertainment because the art style is good. The story is not bad. And ultimately, it is a One Piece story, so I find some baseline level of enjoyment that's probably higher than anything that isn't One Piece related, right? So that's it for that. However, in terms of like actual value added, or like in terms of like how the story is structured and stuff like that, this is like a 2.5 out of 5. Technically, this does not add anything to the main story. There is nothing here that needed to be said. It's all just a way to get more money out of people and also to kind of provide a little bit of a kickback to fans for being so supportive, right? Like, okay, fans, we know that you have some level of entertainment or love for Ace. Let's give you something about him that is kind of exciting, even though it doesn't really reveal anything new, right? So there you go. But, I mean, the artwork is phenomenal. Like, it's so cool. There is no... Like, if you have $10 to spare, or less, if you buy it, on Amazon or on In-Stock Trades or on Crunchyroll, there is no reason why you shouldn't buy this because it's just fun. It looks cool, right? It looks really awesome. However, if you'd rather, save your money for actually mainline One Piece stuff, do that too. Like, there is no problem with either decision. I think that ultimately... It's what you think will bring you more entertainment, right? The funny thing is the best part that I liked about this is actually that somehow Marco ends up looking like this pretty boy, and I think that's really funny because that's not how I would expect him to be. I always think of Marco as a bit more dopey than badass as fuck, right? So yeah, so the fact that they chose to make him a little like a pretty boy is pretty funny, right? But like look at that. That is some top tier art. And that's really the highest value that you get out of this, that you have amazing artwork by an amazing mangaka, adapting stuff from another amazing mangaka, right? So, what do you think is worth it is really the answer here. Yeah, I wouldn't say I wouldn't buy this again. Like, if I lost these copies for whatever reason, I would buy it again just because I care enough about One Piece to do that. But if I wasn't a One Piece fan, there's no point for me getting this, right? So yeah, there you go. That's my thoughts on this. I think it's a little bit all over the place, but I hope you guys kind of understood what I was trying to get to, right? So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.